Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 242. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, on the Facebook group, Dumb SEO Questions. You can also ask us a question on Twitter using the tag Dumb SEO QS. All right, with us today we have Masataki Wasa. Masataki is webmaster of wasaweb.net in the UK. He's also a Google top contributor on the Google AdSense community, and he's based in Wimbledon in London. Close to Silicon Valley, Micah Fisher-Kirshner is based on the west coast of the USA. He is a regular on the public speaking circuit. He is senior SEO manager for Zendesk.com in the United States. Tim Capper is CEO of onlineownership.com. Tim is a conversion rate optimization specialist. He's proud to call himself an SEO. He's based in Corby, but I mean, that's sad, but anyway, he's based in Corby, about 100 miles to the north of London. And in Kansas, William Rock, the Midwest of the USA, he's proud to call himself an SEO and also a Google top contributor on the web search, Google web search community. Now, I forgot to mention Tim's a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community. All right, we've got 14 questions tonight. Let's look at the first one. What did I do wrong then? I clicked the wrong button, something went wrong. Anyway, let's go forward. All right, it's titled, Most Managers Have No Clue What is the Google Search Console. Jonathan Maynard, he said, I have a question, a dumb SEO question that might not be that dumb. Can we know if a website has a Google Search Console linked to it? We do SEO audits and we realize that most managers have no clue what is the Google Search Console. From our side, can we audit if there is any Google Search Console linked? If yes, to which account?
All right, so I think Ellen Baywas kind of got this in the comments on Facebook. For the most, it depends on which implementation they used. So one of the possible implementations is a meta tag that you put on the homepage. And so you can look for that tag and see if it's there. They allow you to upload an HTML file as well, but that would be next to difficult to find out what that is, because usually it's just a random string of numbers and there you go, it's uploaded. Then there are like 3 or 4 others that you'd have no way to see. And then would be if you had access to either their Google Analytics or their Google AdWords. And if they've connected it there, you can then see that some semblance of the data show up. And those are really the only way you'd be able to know without directly asking the client of having the GSC at all, versus, and much less linked.
Yeah, it's not something. In many cases, people can use the they can use DNS. They can either put in a text record or a CNAME, and so there'd be no way that anyone would be able to figure that out. If it's not physically on the body of the page, they'll never find it. All right, any more on this one? Okay.
Yeah. So he also says, can we audit if there isn't any Google Search Console linked? Yeah, because the audit's generally on the site. You're not auditing based upon the Search Console. Naturally, you would ask them first if they had analytics, and if they had analytics and they gave you access to that, you could just, take two seconds really to just connect the Search Console for them. I'm sure they'd appreciate it.
Yeah, true enough. That's another way you can verify the ownership of a domain is via a Google Analytics account. All right, let's go to the next one. We call it a wrap.
I wanted to add one other thing, which is the if you're going to, based off what Tim was saying, in the analytics, if it's actually linked to the same email address that's actually the admin, then that will connect you in Search Console pretty quickly with the analytics. But if it's actually in a different account, when you go to try to link that in your admin, you may not see that the actual URL that you're wanting to link up because it's not tied to your admin account. So the other thing is just to check the main email address.
Thank you, William. I see Rob Mars has just joined us. Rob is an AdWords aficionado. He runs a business in the Netherlands, Market Biz with 2 Zs, MARKETBIZZ.nl. He's also, oh no, I'm not going to try and guess it. A Google top contributor on the web search, webmasters and AdWords, something like that. All right, this one I posted on Facebook because I was incredibly frustrated this week trying to help a long-term client. Unfortunately, I heard about this too late. I won't try and read it all because it can be read on the Facebook community, the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook community. But just briefly, can I just say that the client is only a hosting client of ours. We don't do SEO for them, but they let me know that they wanted to change their hosting from IIS SQL to Apache MySQL. In other words, the file extensions would go from being ASP or ASPX to PHP, and that would break every link on the site that by itself. But this site is a respected site. It's got nearly 1,000 links. Some of them domain authority 100, trust 100. Sites like the Australian Tourism's $5 million site. This site is the site that they have is rock solid. It's winning for all of their brand terms and all of their packages. Just absolutely rock solid. Anyway, someone has convinced them to register an exact match domain to their business. And they're going to dump a 15-year-old domain without trying to preserve any SEO value. When I brought this up with the developer was totally convinced that all he had to do was use the change of address tool in Google Search Console, and that would transfer all of the value to, according to him, I should say, transfer all of the value to the new site. And he was adamant that he was going to turn the new site off immediately because if he didn't, there'd be duplicate content. And he said specifically that the site would incur a penalty, a duplicate content penalty. And you know, and it was just so frustrating. I could not convince this guy that what he was doing. And so we had a client who was about to make the most disastrous decision of their business life. And I just don't know what to do. I really don't. So anyway, so I posted this. If I can get you guys to sign off on what you think will happen and the consequences of that plan, then that might help. I might push this this clip under his nose. Any thoughts? Goodness me.
So yeah, essentially changing to, so you're literally taking your site from a domain and you're putting it onto another domain. Now, without redirecting that old domain to the new domain and redirecting the individual pages to their to the next or nearest corresponding categories or pages, you are essentially going to lose all of the authority that the original domain has built up. You're going to lose all the links that you've built up over the years. And by losing those links, you're going to generally be losing out on all of your referral traffic. Essentially, your new domain is a new domain in the eyes of Google. And it'll be starting fresh. You'll probably be losing a massive chunk of your positioning. Probably retain your brand name, but that may also disappear for a while. Essentially, you're just, everything's going to, change. The way you should properly manage a, domain change is, properly redirecting the old domain and its existing URLs to the new domain, so that Googlebot will recognize this one. Right, this is where it's leading to. Boom. Okay, this is the new. So because this other guy's also not really obviously quite listening or doesn't understand the concept, I did dig out some of the old articles about Ryanair, and which I thought, naturally it's all written kind of in plain English. It doesn't really go into detail about redirects and things like that, but it does show you from a business level the pain level that you're going to experience by not redirecting your old domain and losing out on all of that. So yeah, I would, I think it's a bad move doing it the way your developer's suggesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
And I noted as well on the chat already, but basically, yeah, agreement. The pain's going to be pretty much temporary from a standpoint of it's going to be bad. They're going to freak out. They're going to fix it, and they're going to put the stuff back. Unfortunately, you need to specify all the redirects. Those need to be there. And there was someone in the comments on Facebook noting that there's even a quote by Google noting like, this tool only works with having the redirects in place. So this is just going to be one of those big F-ups that hopefully will showcase that your value has been underrated.
Jim, is this a e-commerce or a B2B?
It's basically it's a travel site. I don't want to mention any names because
No, you don't need to. Yeah.
it's a A tour company. They sell packages of tours, and well respected, unique in the metropolis of Tweed Heads, where I live, and they get regular bookings from all over. The main market these days is China. Chinese tourists coming to the Gold Coast. Yeah, and I don't know whether they depend on the bookings from their site, but I would say so.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because if they're having their income coming in from the website and then basically they move to this other platform, what if they're going to have issues with the booking site, the capabilities between going from one database to the next? It sounds like the developer is already working on that, but stages, like you were saying, redirects and everything else could cause it to just flubber and fall off the world.
Yeah, I mean, the issue for me is that they're starting over. They're wasting 15 years of history and just throwing it in the trash can. It's just it boggles the mind. I really don't know what to do, how to advise them. Anyway, anybody else with a comment on this one, please? All right, let's move on to the next. I'll just tweet that. Right, this one, a post from David Harry. It's not really a question, but I suppose we should mention it. It's the best, sneakiest hack for links that he's seen. Apparently, they are redirecting off the site with 301s and 302s coming back to serve Googlebot. They're effectively using the victim's site to cloak Googlebot, and they can't be seen, but of course Googlebot runs into them and munches that up. I guess you've all read that article. Any comments on it? No. All right, let's move on to the next. This is one we can get our teeth into. Adding schema to the address, phone, and email in the footer. Jacob Punton asks, if I added schema to the address, phone, and email in the footer, would I need to add schema to those same three elements on the Contact Us page? Bearing in mind it's a site-wide, it's site-wide due to the footer. Thanks.
No, if it's a site-wide footer, no, it will be in the structured data markup site-wide then. Assuming you add it into obviously the footer that's site-wide, the footer PHP that's running site-wide. It will appear on all pages. So no, you don't need to mark up in HTML or anything like that the additional, the phone number and that on the contact page.
Thank you, Tim. All right, let's call that an answer and move on. Chase Rayner wants to know if this is a negative SEO attack. He said, so one of my clients wound up getting a huge surplus in links a few months ago. These links didn't affect the rankings, but suddenly a month later, 400 links dropped, and 2 weeks later, so did their rankings. Does this seem like a negative SEO attack? I'm seeing tons of links in Mandarin and I'm not sure if this is something their competition did. I'm planning on doing a huge disavow for these new links, but a lot of them have already dropped, which I think triggered a penalty. Your thoughts?
Personally, I don't think that that quick of internal links coming to your site like that could fluctuate. I think it or make your drop rankings that fast because Google can actually detect that signal and it doesn't look like a natural signal. But I would probably look at other things that might be affected on the website, Panda related, or additional links that you might have had in the past. So there's a lot of different fluctuations. Google's always changing the algorithm or adding things to the algorithm. So, yeah.
Okay. Right, let's move on to the next. This one from Lucas Regala, and he's asking any thoughts on Expedia's drop in search engine results pages. Now, I don't know if you saw the graph of this one, but looks like Expedia has dropped significantly. Anyway, Lucas said, any thoughts on Expedia's drop in SERPs? It doesn't look as a link penalty, even if some of the links pointing to specific pages aren't brilliant quality. I believe they are disavowed already. It's more like a technical issue. Going a little bit deeper, I noticed that they have ongoing A/B testing, and these are set correctly, but while crawling via Screaming Frog, nothing happens at all. When changed from the old Ajax crawling scheme to text only, then it worked. So the drop could be somehow related to this thing, and he gives a link involving an escaped fragment. Yeah, I was talking to somebody else on Facebook Messenger at the time that Lucas said that, and I passed it on, and he said, the first thing he said was, I hope they're not cloaking. They might be inadvertently cloaking. Without mentioning names, we have a friend who's very high up in the SEO management of Expedia, and our thoughts are with him. We hope that he's on top of this, and knowing Alistair, I'd say he's got this covered. Any other comments?
Yeah, it looks like they did start to take a pretty good hit in April. Sorry. My apologies. Looks like they had a hit in April, and then also in May and June. So being able to have the traffic drop there, but if we remember back into 2014, they had a huge 25% drop in their traffic for unnatural link building. So there could be a couple different modifications that they've done with Penguin that could fluctuate what we're seeing as far as a drop there. But it's hard to tell. There's a couple other pieces that are notated in SEMrush that, well, it'd be hard to tell. I haven't really dug too deep into it, but I remember all the different things that they've done in the past. But it does look like in SEMrush, just looking at the overview report, they have lost 9% of their traffic in the last couple of days. So be something to check out.
Yeah, well, if it's as described, Lucas can't crawl using Ajax, but can crawl using text. I mean, Googlebot only crawls in text, so it could be that that could be interpreted as serving one set of content to Googlebot and another set to viewers, and of course we know the consequences of that. Anyway, let's tweet that. Charge on. Neil Cheeseman, I haven't heard from him for a while. This is on, he's looking for SEO advice on ranking. He said, I'm trying to earn a living in a competitive niche since 2005 and looking for some SEO advice on ranking. Any offers that won't cost an arm and a leg? Well, I know all of you guys do cost an arm and a leg, so I imagine you didn't knock on Neil's door. Comments, please. Thoughts?
Well, be consistent, be unique, and don't spam.
Yep.
Yeah. So essentially, budget-wise, it's only going to cost your time. Is content. You know, unique content that is, you know, going to that your users want to read. Now, I'm not just saying churn out articles. I'm saying, you know, you've had kind of 12 years within that in that industry. So you kind of, you know on what your customers or the user would be searching, the kind of questions they'd be searching. As you probably know by now, users don't tend to search. Users will either start off with a very small keyword. When they don't find what they're exactly looking for, they tend to expand their search query. And of course, we've got voice search now, which is more expanded. It's not voice queries tend to be longer and longer tail and expanded. So what I would say to you in terms of just your time would be to understand what your users are really searching for, and to create content around what they're really searching for. Yes, there may only be 10 visits a month for a particular whole search query, and there may be only 20 for that particular one. But if you're targeting all of them, then you're attracting all those queries. So really try to understand what the users are searching for and provide that kind of content. And it doesn't just have to be written, depending on what it could be, video content. So all different types of content, and it depends what actually you're providing to them. But that is what I would say would be that's not going to cost you anything other than your time.
Yeah. Well, the other thing would be going back into what you're saying is figuring out where your customers are going and doing and what they're reading. Looking back in the analytics and creating simple funnels, goal reports. I'm sure you're probably already doing that, but do a little bit finer research, figure out where they're going, then use your flow as another good report to fine tune and figure out what they're doing once they read the content. How long are they staying on that content? Are they engaging with it? Are there additional call to actions? Just like you would do for any other business. It might be a niche site, but getting that understanding where you can replicate that process when you find those niche keywords in that competitive area. It's just like an attorney. There's certain skill sets that they primarily focus on, and then there's other ones that don't. And it could be 10 people hitting your site that month, but then if one person converts, that could be a lot of money.
Thank you, William. Right, do we have any more to add to that? Okay, let me tweet that. This is a question from Martin Maguire regarding the Google Search Console and 404 errors, or soft 404 errors. Martin said, "Hi guys, I recently started helping a friend with his e-commerce site, brackets women's shoes. There are hundreds of products being sold, and as you'd expect, some of these sell out from time to time. Search Console notified me that it was returning a lot of soft 404 errors. I sent these on to the developer to assign correct 404s to these pages. I'm wondering if there's anything else I could be doing as regards to best practice. Should I be looking to de-index these pages once the product is sold out, etc.? As you can imagine, this will probably happen quite regularly with style and seasonal changes, etc. I'm new to the e-commerce environment and so would like some advice on what is the best path to take. Thanks in advance."
So it's perfectly fine if you want to just do regular 404s for these product pages. There's no downside kind of with having 404s. Now, my general preference on anything that might be seasonal or trending is there a way that you can thematically group that together? So if a specific design is always kind of updated, but it has like let's just say a brand name that's rolled out every year, then trying to create that as an evergreen page that you can update year over year is a better approach to go, so that if that page does have people linking to it, you're not having to restart from scratch every year. And so it's just kind of seeing if you can thematically build in a page that can be reused every year rather than having to kill the pages, build another. That's kind of the way that I would look at it. It's like I see that as being there's potentially more value that you can keep and then gain from a value standpoint in the long run through organic search. But if not, then just kind of 404ing them would be the way to go.
Thank you, Micah. All right, anybody else? We seem to have lost Masataki. No one else?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
So another thing is, if that shoe is never ever coming back, and you're never going to restock it because, I don't know, it was diabolical and 20 women fell over and killed themselves and it's just never coming back, then you can also full 10 it, which is like, this ain't never coming back. Yeah, and I would certainly, I mean, I've played a bit in e-commerce, not in obviously shoes, but yeah, definitely give a thought to what Micah was saying about your seasonal. So I don't know what you would call, so Christmas, like if you had a Christmas or summer, oh sorry, you would have like spring, summer. So if you had a spring, summer collection page and then you kind of like just took that down over, you know, when you hit the autumn, winter collections, rather than taking it down, your menu still live. You can update it, you can add different content onto it saying this is, you know, what we perceive to be stocking for the next spring, summer. You can put an email alert into it saying alert us when the new spring, summer collection is available. So that's always there, it's always visible. You just remove it out of the actual visible menu, but it stays, and you update it as such. You don't like kind of 404 and then bring it back. The other thing is, if you're returning a lot of soft 404s, I would double check something there, because generally a soft 404 occurs when the page has been is 404, but then it's 301 redirected to in kind of what Google feels is an incompatible page. So let's say you take and you redirect it to your home page, not to the other form shoot category landing page, for example. So that's what can sometimes trigger soft 404s in Search Console if they've been incorrectly redirected, and Google kind of goes, well, it doesn't make sense. So also have a look at that.
Yeah, the other thing I would take a look at too, talking about e-commerce, you probably have a data feed in your shopping. So making sure that you're also addressing those products that are out of stock, that you're not actually sending traffic to them to go to a out of stock page. But you can also, on that same page organically, it's like not necessarily killing off the page, but putting related products. Say that shoe has a couple other shoes just like that. You can also add those. Customers also bought this, and that way you're not missing out on a potential sell if the person found you, they're looking for this, and you have something similar to it, but it's also, you know, accessible. They're not just going to an error page and then leaving and going back to the search engine.
Yeah. You're leaving us, Micah. Have a safe journey to work, mate. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think, I can probably add something there. On one e-commerce site that I'm connected with, we mark them as discontinued. Once they're discontinued, they're canonicalized to a similar product, in the hope that any value in that page is preserved, and then after a while we then no index that page. And that way, the traffic drops off to the page, and well, anyway, it's the way that we manage it. And I saw Rob's comment in the chat to create an attractive starting page out of the 404 page. Make a custom 404 to search for new shoes. All right, let's move on to the next. Okay, this one from Gareth Higgins. Why Search Console is not producing data? Gareth said, hey all. I'll probably be posting quite a few dumb questions while I learn the ropes. The first question to kick things off, why is search analytics in the Search Console not producing data? The message is there is no data for this set of filters. I see this question being asked a bit. Sorry?
It all depends on.
Yeah, you go ahead. Sorry.
It all depends on how long ago you added the Search Console information, verifying it. Sometimes it takes a couple days, maybe a week sometimes even, to get some of the data, depending on how much traffic you have coming to your website. But normally after about a week, you can start to see traffic coming in there at a good steady pace, and you can start to look at the pages. So you can go up and search by, instead of just search query, but you can also see search page, and that'll actually break out a little bit more information. Hopefully there's something coming in even with not finding any 404 pages. So when you start going into a crawl, you should start crawl information. You'll be able to start to see that Googlebot is starting to crawl you, which is a good signal as well. But depending on how fast or how long you set it up, it's going to take a little bit of time to propagate.
It could also be there is no data.
Yeah, and that goes back to if they have how much traffic they have coming to the website. It might even be a brand new domain.
A more common problem is that people are looking at the wrong property, right? The wrong property. So they should verify all possible properties like HTTPS and W, non-W.
Good point.
They should look at the one that's preferred and that's indexed.
Yeah, and you can actually tell that by just typing in your name in Google and looking at the URL that it's actually picking up, if it's the www or the non-www. Good point.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Here's when we can get our teeth into. Eunice Bermeem asked, what should I do in the first weeks of creating a website? Eunice said, I just started my own project. I'll be managing everything by myself. If you have any advice, suggestions, articles to read about what I should do in the first weeks of creating a website, please let me know. Very refreshing to hear somebody say that and quite frankly set it out. And
I would suggest the Google's got a pretty good little read on the Google Webmaster Academy. I'll put a link in there as well, but that's a good read, going through with different simple things. But then make sure that you've got your Google Analytics set up, which is free. Search Console is also free, and don't forget about the Bing, Bing Maps as well. But then Google has its own Google My Business, so being able to set up those as the beginning starting blocks of your website would be good to be able to start getting data into that, so you can understand what your website's doing. But nice to see somebody asking a question as they're starting to create their first website or a project for SEO.
Yeah, Moz also has a good SEO guide. Check that out. And Moz also has very sort of untechnical kind of stuff, which will help you understand that. Yeah, I would probably read through that and then look at the pages you've created on your site. Yeah, that would be the starting point. Read and understand kind of how search engines, what search engines look on a site, the page structure, things like that. Once you kind of got that down across your site, then you can start looking at, producing your content that depending content for your readers, users, or purchasers, depending on what the actual site is intended to do. I would say, take a look at obviously the Google SEO guide and the Moz SEO guide, both structured in their own individual way. But that'll give you an idea on how to look at your pages that you've created and any pages moving forward. And then, of course, then it's about marketing yourself. So it's a question of, if your site is sound, now it's a question to market. And how do we market this? Where are my readers? how do I attract those people to come and visit my site? Because that is the essence of it. You know, you've got a product, a content, you know, a product or something, or which you are intending a certain group of people to find interesting. And now the question is how do you put your product in front of those people, and how do you market it? So and that's the crux of it. There's no, you know, there's no shadowy kind of dark arts here. It's a question of how do I market this to them. And yeah, so yeah, check out those two things on SEO. Make sure your site is actually properly configured and your pages are properly structured. And then it's a question of figuring out, right, who are these people and how do I get it out to them?
Thank you, Tim. Good answer. All right, let's go to the next. Here we have a question, another question from Jacob Punton. He said, I set up a new client site in Google Search Console the other day, and this is what I got in the Search Analytics tab. Has anybody else experienced this before? If so, what is it? It looks like search parameters to me. Cheers. Now this will be posted in the Facebook group, but unfortunately our scraper failed to pick up the image. The link is broken on that page, so I'm not sure what he's referring to. Do any of you guys know already?
Yeah, I'm looking at the snippet that's on the Facebook. It almost looks like queries would probably be with inside maybe his website, the search function on his website, maybe. But yeah, they're just long. Mike actually mentioned, yeah, just long tail queries.
I'll have a look myself.
Well, and also David Harry actually mentioned somebody maybe using a tool like an auto query meth link. I'm not sure what that is, but I would imagine that's a tool that just goes out and tries to clutter your search query, the little search box on your website. Oh, I see what's going on here. So basically it's that long keyword, but it says, you know, like gutter cleanings, window cleanings, or, so it's all really, really long queries. So that might be what like David was referring to, is it's some type of bot that's creating those. I've seen that with a couple different sites, but that was like a Joomla, or where it's actually something's constantly pinging, like a bot's constantly pinging the website and it shows up in console.
Okay, I see Dawn Anderson suggested that it was an SEO competitor. David Harry, oh, you mentioned that, William.
Yeah, it's a query piece that's constantly generating. So,
yeah. Neil Cheeseman wants to know, for a structural website audit, which software would you recommend for a structural website audit? If there is such a thing. Well, there certainly is. Or the disclaimer that SEMrush provide our panelists with a copy of their Guru subscription to SEMrush. I think, well, I find it invaluable. use it every day. Just love it, and I love all the new things that they're doing.
You can also use Screaming Frog, or what's this one? Let me just hang on. I've just got to close some screens here. Get Visual SEO Studio, which is run and managed by Federico Sasso. So that I found also very helpful.
And there's also the Microsoft IIS toolkit. But the thing I like about
I mean, hardly anyone ever knows that, but I found it's been very breaky over the last, I don't know, couple months. Sometimes it lets me out a new project, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, my primary go-to tool is going to be the SEMrush for a lot of that stuff, because everything's kind of built into one admin. And it's just a lot easier to kind of filter through their data. It's always good to have other tools as well. But yeah, Screaming Frog would be an awesome tool to use on that as well.
Okay.
A little more.
Here's another question from Chase Rayner. No robots text. Can this be bad? What happens if you look at a site and there's no robots text? Can this be bad?
No, quite honestly, I don't think. Obviously, everybody has their preferences, and there's some things. But quite honestly, if a site doesn't use any robots text and it has no need for it, in the sense that I don't know, sorting up parameter queries and things like that. So let's just say on a normal site, everything's running kind of fine, and they haven't ever bothered to robots txt different things like, I don't site map or whatever. No, it's fine. I don't believe it's, a lot of people will flag it up, and I know a lot of will flag it up now, but honestly, I don't think it's like a make or break issue. I really don't.
Yeah, and then search engines have gotten really a lot smarter throughout the days as well, where it might have actually been more effective having it then back then in the day. But yeah, if I'm not clearing out some of disavow this or disallow this one folder, say my admin in WordPress or Joomla. So, but I don't believe it's going to hurt. I think Google can figure it out.
Okay. All right. Well, what no robots text simply means, because all the robot text is a hint for crawlers and who may or may not respect it. But no robots text means the site's open to be crawled. Anyway, let's go to the next. Deepika Goel asks on increasing social media traffic. Deepika asked a question we probably can't answer, but anyway, she said, "Hi friends, could you please help me out or let me know how to use Thunderclap to increase social media traffic? Please help me with this question." Thunderclap. I haven't heard of Thunderclap. Anybody know what it does?
No, I've never used it.
I don't think that there's any tool which will increase social media traffic more than communicating with people, interacting with others, pluses or likes, actually making a comment or a thoughtful comment. That's what makes social media traffic increase. And having posts which are linked to your site Obviously, if you make it easier for people, they will be more likely to join. All right, I think it's that time again, but let me just click this button and we'll find out. Yes, it is. Well, thank you for watching, and we thank you most sincerely. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and for that, we thank you very much. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again, but